Hello guys, welcome back to Anime Moments. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Against the Gods based on novel. So let's start explanation. Yun Xiao? He actually took the initiative to enter the sacred cloud arena? That certainly is a rare sight. Did this guy take the wrong medicine today? It is clear that he knows that his so-called position of young patriarch is about to be taken away, so he wants to at least display some prowess to gain back some prestige. Yun Xiao was defeated so easily? This Yun Xiao normally does not display his talent, but to think that he was actually this strong. This is definitely because Yun Xiao had already defeated quite a few challengers beforehand, so he had exhausted a large amount of his profound energy. Even though Yun Xiao's profound strength is slightly greater without a profound handle, how could he defeat Yun Xiao in such a straightforward manner under normal circumstances? In regards to Yun Xiao's easy victory over Yun Xiao, the Yun family disciples were not only extremely shocked, they were also extremely upset. This was because, in their eyes, Yun Xiao was not even a member of their clan. He was some bastard who was picked up from the profound sky continent, and even the entire illusory demon realm knew about it. In the past, Yun Xiao had never participated in anything involving direct combat, but this time, he took the initiative to enter the stage and even beat Yun Xiao. To them, this was basically equivalent to their clan member being beaten up by an outsider, so they were naturally upset. Despite what he said in the past, looks like he is still hanging on to the name of young patriarch. But after today, let's see who will still protect him. For him to be kicked out of our family is only a matter of time, but he actually dares to try to steal our thunder at this time. See how I'll beat him down. Another Yun family disciple immediately vaulted onto the stage and stood in front of Yun Xiao. With an arrogant expression, he said, "Come, let us exchange pointers with one another." As his words fell, he exploded into motion and swept up all the shadows in the sky as tens of lightning sword beams interweaved to form a net of purple swords which rushed straight at Yun Xiao. Yun Xiao's expression was grave and he retreated half a step. With a single brandish of galloping lightning, 7 lightning edges screamed forth. The sound of space tearing was akin to a knife cutting glass. It was extremely ear-piercing. Bang 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 bang. A succession of sounds that sounded like the shattering of crystals chaotically rang out together. At the same time, both Yun Xiao and his opponent were clashing together in the shadows cast by the lightning swords. And most of the sacred cloud arena, which was several tens of meters in diameter, was immediately enveloped in a screen of lightning. The great elders have arrived. As the two people battled atop the stage, a shout rang out. Yun Xiao tilted his head to look and he saw more than 30 people flying towards them at a slow pace from different directions. Every single one of them exuded an indomitable and powerful aura from their body. None of them deliberately activated their profound energy aura, but because of their appearance, the surrounding space seemed to have been completely solidified. Every single person in this group were all peak-level powerhouses who could shake the illusory demon world. These are the 36 elders who comprise the core of our Yun family's elder council. Yun Qinghong told Yun Qian in a dry voice, among the 36 core elders, the strongest is the great elder Yun Weitian. He is the head of the elder council, and for the past 20-odd years, his words have carried the highest weight. Yun Qian slowly nodded his head. He also understood that the reason why Yun Weitian was the head of the Elder Council wasn't just because his strength was the greatest or he had lived the longest. There was an even more important reason. His youngest son was Yun Xingyue, Yun family's greatest hope to rise to ascendancy once more. He did not need Yun Qinghong to tell him. He could tell who was great elder Yun Weitian with a glance, because he had come together with Yun Xingyue. The 36 elders took their seats in proper succession. In regards to Yun Qinghong, some of them nodded their heads towards him. Others pretended not to see him, and there were even those with complex emotions in their eyes. As the people who made up the Elder Council, they were the most clear on the events which were going to happen today. Because they were the ones who had come together to decide today's events. A elder who was ranked among the last of those in attendance passed by Yun Qinghong and whispered to him in a suppressed voice, "Qinghong, the real agenda behind today's family competition, I believe you have already guessed it. The majority of the elders have thrown their support behind Yun Weitian, even the 3 grand elders have also. Even though we are not content, we are powerless to change anything." Ha! Yun Qinghong laughed faintly and said just 5 words in a carefree manner, "Do not brood over it." That elder shook his head and didn't speak any further. He sat down in his designated seat with a complex expression on his face. At the very center of where all the elders were seated, Yun Weitian had already taken his place, and Yun Xingyue was seated at his right-hand side. A junior was actually seated with the rest of the elders, but not a single person felt that it was inappropriate. Just from that, it could be seen how esteemed and important Yun Xingyue was to the Yun family. As the two people in the sacred cloud arena continued to duel, they had reached a momentary deadlock, but Yun Xiao was beginning to steadily gain the advantage. After seeing Yun Xiao actually enter the sacred cloud arena and exchange blows with the Yun family disciples, the various elders displayed astonished and complicated expressions. Yun Weitian first flicked a glance at Yun Xiao, who was on stage, and then slanted his eyes towards Yun Qinghong. He gave a cold snort, expressing his contempt. He then turned his gaze to his own son and his face immediately swelled up with pride. Over 20 years ago, Yun Qinghong was the most celebrated son of Demon Imperial City, and was the youngest ever monarch in the history of the illusory demon realm. His light was simply too dazzling, and even though Yun Weitian was more than 50 years his senior, he could only look up at Yun Qinghong. But who could have expected for there to be such a dramatic reversal of fortunes? The person who he could only look up at and envy in the past had become a cripple, and it was common knowledge that his son was not even his own. He then thought of his current position and status within the Yun family, and thought of his own son, and he felt a kind of superiority that was simply way too refreshing. Ha 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 ha. A burst of candid laughter suddenly rang out and in the sky. A huge figure appeared out of nowhere, and an ear-splitting voice which carried a hint of brashness rang out, "Mu family's Mu Yubai has specially come to join this Yun family gathering." None of the Yun family thought that it was strange for Mu Yubai to pay them a visit at this time. They were well aware of the purpose for his visit, and they had also prepared well beforehand to deal with his intrusion. And after seeing that only Mu Yubai had come, the various elders all sighed silently in relief. All of them stood up one after another, because in a few decades, Mu Yubai would naturally succeed the position of Mu family's patriarch, and his status would be greater than all those present, so they naturally got up to greet him. Yun Weitian stood up, clasped his hands, and said, "Young Patriarch Mu's arrival is most delightful and welcome, please have a seat." "No need." Mu Yubai waved his hand, "I'll just choose a seat on my own." Having said that, his body flashed and he instantly appeared at Yun Qinghong's side. After that he sat down in a grand and ostentatious manner and did not pay attention to any other people. "Senior Mu." Yun Che greeted. Mu Yubai nodded his head, and he looked at Yun Xiao who had steadily gained the advantage. He rubbed his jaw and said, "TSK. This kiddo ain't too bad. Big brother, you came by yourself? I had thought father would come as well." Mu Yuro said in a soft voice. Mu Yubai's face grew grave and he said in a low, suppressed voice, "Dad originally wanted to come as well, but I talked him out of it." Before he continued, his eyes suddenly shot in the direction of Yun Weitian and his voice dropped a further octave. "While Dad and I were investigating the attack on Xiao and the girl from the Under Heaven clan, we managed to uncover an incredible clue. Today, some people from the illusory demon royal family may pay this competition a visit as well." Yun Qinghong's brows jumped violently. Illusory demon royal family? Mu Yuro's brows also sank. "Big brother, what exactly did the both of you manage to find out? Who exactly were those people who wanted to harm Xiao that day?" Mu Yubai gently shook his head. "We only managed to uncover a tiny clue, but we cannot confirm anything, nor do we have any concrete evidence. We will have to adopt a wait-and-see approach. If the situation spirals out of control, HMPH, this position of the Yun family patriarch, it's fine if you don't have it. Bring your entire family to our Mu family, it will be far more comfortable than staying in this wretched place." Mu Yuro took a look at Yun Qinghong, and let out a silent sigh. Mu Yubai could say it easily, but she knew that Yun Qinghong would definitely not be willing to leave the Yun family. After all, the Yun family and its name carried the lives, efforts, pride and glory of his bloodline of patriarchs. How could he be willing to leave the Yun family and give his position away to another family branch within the Yun family? At this time, an even voice descended from far away. Unparalleled under heaven has come to pay a visit. These few words, the first word sounded like it came from 5 kilometers away, whereas the last word sounded as if the speaker was right next to you. The robust, profound power contained within the voice stirred emotions within all the 36 elders present. And this voice, as well as the name that accompanied it, caused all of them to stand up as one. Two figures had suddenly appeared in the air. Yunche recognized the person on the left. It was number one under heaven. And to his right, stood a middle-aged man with a gentle countenance and a sincere smile. His position was even further forward than number one under heaven, and the words that he had announced, unparalleled under heaven, was his very own name. Unparalleled under heaven? What is he doing here? Yun Qinghong had a flabbergasted expression on his face. Following that, he gave Yunche a thoughtful look, but he did not ask him anything. Instead he candidly explained, among these two people, you are already acquainted with number one under heaven. The person beside him is called unparalleled under heaven and he is around my age. He is the younger brother of the elf clan's patriarch, greatest ambition under heaven, and he is also the person in the elf clan whose power and position is second only to greatest ambition under heaven. Oh. Yunche slowly nodded his head. 2 months ago he had sent a sound transmission to number one under heaven and invited him to the Yun family competition, but he did not expect that not only would he come, he would even bring such a heavyweight with him as well. It was pretty obvious that number one under heaven had guessed his true motive. The debt he owed Yunche for saving his sister burned in his heart. His position, status and nature dictated that he would definitely be unwilling to owe anyone a favor. So not only did he come, he brought Yunche a nice surprise as well. However, this bunch from the Under Heaven clan and the names that they were given, each one truly surpassed the last. If it was only number one under heaven who had come, any one of the elders could have welcomed him. Because even though number one under heaven was the young patriarch of the Under Heaven family, he was still a junior. But with the arrival of unparalleled under heaven, the entire situation changed. Yun Weitian hurriedly soared into the air and he solicitously greeted the new arrivals. So it is Elder Unparalleled and the young patriarch of the Under Heaven family. Unparalleled under heaven gently smiled. His gentle demeanor and his complete lack of an imposing manner clashed with the grand name, Unparalleled under heaven. We have come uninvited and we hope that no one takes offense. What are you saying, Elder Unparalleled? Since the both of you have come, our Yun family will definitely welcome you with open arms. Please, have a seat. As the two people took their seats, number one under heaven crossed eyes with Yunche, and they mutually nodded their heads inconspicuously. One used his gaze as greetings, the other used his gaze to express his thanks. The Yun family competition that was taking place today was destined to be extraordinary. Because just as number one under heaven and unparalleled under heaven had taken their seats, yet another voice came from above, tut, tut. Looks like the Yun family has received quite a number of esteemed guests. This was a lot more lively than I expected. That haughty voice carried a shrill edge and if people heard it, they would feel unwell. That voice was followed by an aura, and the atmosphere immediately became sluggish. Yunche clearly saw Yun Qinghong and Mu Yubai's expression change at the same time. A middle-aged man gently floated down from the air. This person was dressed all in green and his facial features seemed to have an unspeakable strangeness about them. His face seemed to be tinged in green, but what caught Yunche's attention was this person's eyes, as they were shaped like long and narrow triangles. And when their gazes met, Yunche felt a cold sensation break out over his entire body. But this was definitely not the aura of a ice-based profound art, rather it was a kind of bone-piercing sinister aura which caused one's hairs to stand on end. For the Mu family to send someone was extremely normal, and while the Under Heaven clan being in attendance shocked the Yun family elders, it still was not anything out of the ordinary. But this person appearing caused all the gathered elders of the Yun family to nearly be stunned into insensibility. He slowly floated downwards and spoke in a hoarse and unpleasant voice, "This time, I have come uninvited as well. I hope that all the present friends of the Yun family will not take offense to my arrival." Yun Weitian stood up to welcome him. "Brother Helian, please do not say such a thing. Since you have come, you are naturally our honored guest. Please be seated." Helian Peng, what is your motive for coming? At this time, an unfriendly voice rang out, and the one who spoke was astonishingly Mu Yu Bai. He? Helian Peng's long and narrow triangular eyes narrowed even further, and he gave a cold and dull laugh. Mu Yu Bai, you can come uninvited, but I cannot. The Yun family was after all a great power all those years ago. I am naturally extremely interested in observing this family competition. All those years ago, those words had been emphasized heavily on purpose. Mu Yu Bai gave a cold snort and did not speak any further, but his brows began to furrow together. Because the appearance of this person was definitely far out of the ordinary. Helian Peng, the Helian family patriarch generations rank 3. Yun Qinghong explained to Yun Che, their original form is that of a 9-headed demon snake and their physiques possess an extremely high innate potential and an extremely strong power. But for the past 10,000 years, they have always been suppressed by our Yun family, and they have always been the eternal number 2. But after our Yun family's situation changed, they have become the head of the 12 guardian families. Helian family, 9-headed demon snake clan. Yun Che silently marked this person called Helian Peng and noted down his appearance. The battle between the two on the stage also came to an end. With an ear-piercing ripping sound, the orange-colored profound handle shattered. Along with a wretched scream, a silhouette was thrown from the sacred cloud arena, smashing heavily onto the ground. On the stage, Yun Xiao held the galloping lightning sword and slowly walked to the edge of the sacred cloud arena. Though he was panting a little, his expression still seemed calm, and his brows still contained some imposingness. Brother Yun Han, you let me win. The Yun family disciple who had lost, clenched his teeth in an unreconciled manner, stood up, and left silently. Now, beneath the stage was not just the younger disciples, the elder council and people from 3 families were beneath the stage too. These younger disciples, before taking part in the family competition, naturally had the intentions of exhibiting their skills in front of the elder generation. They did not think that the first to be in the limelight was actually Yun Xiao. They even more did not expect that the Yun Xiao who never retaliated after getting bullied would actually be hiding such strength. HMPH. This fellow, beneath the stage, Yun Hao had an unsatisfied expression as he looked at the Yun Xiao, who always got mocked by himself, be in the limelight. His gaze swept across the area that the elders were seated, then, he laughed coldly and pushed off the ground with both feet. His body rose into flight and landed on the sacred cloud arena, where he crossed his arms and said calmly amidst the chaos, Yun Xiao, your performance today isn't bad. Come, let the two of us spar for a bit. Yun Xiao scrunched his eyebrows, his expression becoming heavy. Yun Hao and Yun Xiao were both half-step overlords. Moreover, Yun Hao had stopped at the stage of a half-step tyrant for 4 years whilst Yun Xiao had in only 1. On top of that, Yun Hao possessed a profound handle. Yun Xiao had fought in 2 consecutive battles, and expended a large portion of his profound strength. If the two of them sparred, it would be a situation where one side had an obvious advantage. Yun Xiao simply had no chance of winning. Your third son, isn't he simply bullying others? At the elders' seats, an elder sitting at the back row said to the person to his side. Yun Hao's father was one of the 36 core elders of the Yun family. His ranking was slightly towards the end. Yun Hao was a genuine heir of an elder. After hearing those words, Yun Hao's father sighed weakly and said, they are all young. While mutually sparring, there is only the matter of being strong or weak. What is there to bully about? If their strength is not sufficient, no one can be blamed for being bullied. What's more, he said in a soft voice, today is the day Yun Qinghong steps down. It's better if this bastard of his goes down early too. Yun Xiao had never sparred with Yun Hao before. His heart too was especially nervous, as a gentle voice arrived in his ears. Yun Hao is frivolously using his strength to seek some glory. He is definitely seeking to defeat you in the shortest amount of time. That's why he will probably use one of the strongest killing moves of the purple cloud arts immediately. Use the wrapping lightning arts which I have made you practice diligently. Whether you will be able to come out victorious from behind will depend on how well you can operate the wrapping lightning arts. Yun Xiao's gaze shifted and he looked towards Yun Qinghong. His expression was calm, with a slight smile. From the start, no one had realized that this family head who was supposedly crippled for tens of years, had just employed an incomparably advanced profound energy sound transmission. Yun Xiao's nervousness disappeared as his gaze became cold and determined. His arms moved slowly, and the galloping lightning sword tilted horizontally in front of his body. Yun Hao took out his own weapon and said beamingly, "Yun Xiao, you have just fought 2 matches, I will also not be willing to take advantage of you. If I do not manage to defeat you within 5 moves, then just take it as my loss. If you are not even able to receive 5 moves of mine, then you can't really blame me." Even a fool could clearly hear the disdain in Yun Hao's words, and this was in a situation where Yun Qinghong was present. The surroundings of the sacred cloud arena went into a fit of sniggers, as various gazes of amusement and pity landed on Yun Xiao. Yet in contrast, Yun Xiao had a face full of calm. He stared straight at the sword in Yun Hao's hand, as if he had not heard the words he just said. Not achieving the results he had expected, Yun Hao was not satisfied. He clenched his teeth and sneered secretly, "This good-for-nothing, he can sure act well. Let's see how you can withstand my one move." Yun Hao moved his arm. His body abruptly sprinted forward, instantly rushed up to Yun Xiao, as he released a lump of lightning profound energy he had secretly amassed on his body. It violently exploded, causing 5 terrifying and malevolent lightning and thunder pythons to appear. What? He used the purple fiend lightning handle immediately. Seems like Yun Hao wants to smack that fellow down with just one move. If Yun Xiao deflects the blow, he will definitely be smacked off the stage. If he receives it head-on, it's possible that he'll lose half his life. Facing Yun Hao's sudden release of the purple fiend lightning handle, Yun Xiao did not dodge or run. Only his eyes opened wide for a moment, exploding with lightning profound energy that clearly shone within his pupils. He raised the galloping lightning sword, bringing along with it a magnificent purple sword silhouette. After the 5 lightning profound powers which contained terrifying might touched his sword silhouette, they did not explode, and instead, drew away gently like the flow of water, following Yun Xiao's body, scattering, as he flew backwards. Even Yun Hao's sword was tugged on strongly by an indescribable force. The profound strength on the sword which was about to be released, was also scattered. Yun Hao, who originally wanted to smash Yun Xiao away with a single move, momentarily turned pale with fright, but without even giving him enough time to fully react, the tip of Yun Xiao's blade abruptly pierced forward, right at his chest. Sudden lightning sword. Yun Hao had immediately employed one of the purple cloud art's strongest killing moves, and it was precisely then, when his profound defense was at its weakest, that his protective profound defense was immediately torn apart under the sudden lightning sword move. Yun Hao let out a muffled groan and flew away, his head landing on the ground, smashing disastrously beneath the stage with a crack sound, smashing a wooden seat into pieces. Yun Hao sprawled on the floor like a dead dog, stared blankly and did not stand up for a long time. This was in the presence of everyone, all the elders were present, along with 3 other guardian families. It could even be said that he had disgraced himself to the extreme. The surroundings immediately became silent. All of the Yun family disciples were thoroughly dumbfounded. Yun Hao's profound strength was thicker than Yun Xiao's, and he also had a profound handle. The opposing Yun Xiao had also wasted a big portion of his profound strength, and they had all thought that it was very possible that Yun Xiao would be defeated in one move by Yun Hao. They never thought that the one to be defeated in a single move would actually be Yun Hao. And after the shock had passed, the elders who were seated revealed unusual expressions one after another. Yun Xiao had just employed the purple cloud ART's toughest skill, wrapping lightning art. Comprehending and cultivating it was extremely difficult, and even if he succeeded, it was tough to use in the battlefield. As such, many Yun family disciples chose to totally give up on the wrapping lightning art, and even some elders did not recommend their children to practice it. However, they had just witnessed Yun Xiao use that move, and it was actually used so beautifully, giving him a miraculous victory over Yun Hao. They were totally caught unprepared. Yun Qinghong nodded towards Yun Xiao, his face revealing a slight smile. Yun Hao finally crawled up from the ground. His lips trembled and his face was already the color of a pig's liver. Feeling all the strange looks from his surroundings, he clenched both his fists and suddenly roared explosively, "Yun Xiao, I was just testing the waters just now. Let us spar again from the start." After his roar faded, just as he wanted to rush up onto the sacred cloud arena again, his father snorted coldly, "Back down. You've already lost." Moreover, it was a huge defeat. With his own father having just berated him, Yun Hao's body immediately stopped. With a completely red face, he clenched his teeth and said, "Father, that was just a big mistake just now. I did not even use half of my strength. Yun Xiao doesn't even have a profound handle. How could he be my opponent?" Shut up. Yun Hao's father was extremely angry. He said with a heavy face, "You yourself are aware that Yun Xiao does not have a profound handle. He is younger than you, and had already fought 2 matches, yet he smashed you down with a single move. Have you not lost enough face? Hurry up and get off from there." Yun Hao quivered from head to toe. He slid his eyeballs over and stared hatefully at Yun Xiao. Then, he clenched his teeth and retreated. However, he had clearly felt Yun Xiao's transformation. When he was glaring at Yun Xiao, he noticed that Yun Xiao was unexpectedly undisturbed. There was even some pressure from his eyes. He was absolutely not like before. It was as if he suddenly had absolutely no apprehension. What a beautiful rapping lightning art. A praise could be heard, and the one to speak up was impressively unparalleled under heaven. He nodded his head hurriedly and said, "I have heard that the Yun family's rapping lightning art is extremely difficult to cultivate. I did not think that a Yun family junior could use it so proficiently. He certainly lives up to the name of the Yun family's young patriarch. Of course, why don't you see whose nephew he is? How could he possibly be bad?" Mu Yubai continued unrestrainedly. Helian Peng's triangular eyes slanted. He put on a false smile and said, "There is a junior disciple from the Yun family at such a level. That's still not too bad. A pity that it can't be compared to our Helian family. It seems to be a little more inferior." The moment the words were spoken, the elders present all revealed expressions of fury. For 10,000 years, the Yun family was the head of the 12 guardian families, Helian being second. The Helian family had been pressed down by the Yun family for 10,000 years, and now that they could finally fight back, they would definitely be unusually proud. They did not lack in ridiculing and despising the Yun family in the past few years. Yun Weitian smiled faintly and said, "Brother Helian's words are somewhat wrong. Although Yun Xiao's strength is still considered not too bad, it is far from representative of our Yun family junior disciple's strength. Even if he could wield the power of the profound handle, it is still impossible for him. Xinyu, let everyone have a look at the strength of Yun family's younger generation." "Yes, father." Yun Xinyu stood up from his seat, then flew up into the air. He did not land on the sacred cloud arena. Instead, he extended his arm while floating and said in a gentle voice, "Young patriarch, you have already fought multiple battles, so it will not be fair for us to battle. Let me use the profound handle to spar." Yun Xinyu pushed out his left arm, and cyan-colored profound handle shot out like a meteor. As it neared Yun Xiao, it transformed into a ring with a diameter of 1 meter. At the same time, a ball of dazzling purple lightning brilliance radiated, causing the original cyan color to be completely swallowed. Unparalleled under heaven, Helian Peng and the rest all noticed the cyan profound handle originating from Yun Xinyu. Cyan. This was the gifted profound handle which only the top geniuses in the Yun family would possess. Back then, both Demon King Yun Sanghai and Yun Qinghong, who shook the Demon Imperial City, had also possessed cyan profound handles. Yun Xiao had always respected Yun Xinyu. He was even more aware that the difference in strength between himself and Yun Xinyu was extremely huge. Facing the attack from Yun Xinyu's profound handle, he did not dare to be careless in the slightest, as he waved his sword and charged. The profound handle, which took the form of a purple electrical ring, revolved rapidly, releasing circles of sinister and devastating electrical arcs wherever one went. The ear-splitting sound of thunder could be heard, space was distorted, and even space was being ripped by concentrated, frightening lightning profound energy. Under such an oppressive profound strength, Yun Xiao could not even near it and was swept away by the boundless and oppressive aura. Even the galloping lightning sword was trembling from the attack. He almost could not hold it still. After the brief rotation of the profound handle, it suddenly flew towards Yun Xiao, as tens of electric arcs were released from the profound handle. Only a clang sound could be heard as the galloping lightning sword within Yun Xiao's hand was easily disarmed. Yun Xiao's arm was completely numb from shaking and the electric shock. His body also flew back from the attack, stumbling, as he landed on the edge of the sacred cloud arena. Yun Xinyu waved his arm, and the profound handle immediately flew back. Without making a move himself, he simply used the profound handle to easily defeat Yun Xiao. Yun Xinyu did not reveal any hint of arrogance and simply nodded towards Yun Xiao's direction. "Young patriarch, please excuse me." Yun Xiao immediately waved his hand and said sincerely, as expected of brother Xinyu, "You're truly too impressive." The Yun family disciples all started cheering and the name, Yun Xinyu, resonated within the Yun family compound. The glory which Yun Xiao had acquired from winning 3 matches in a row was completely drowned by Yun Xinyu's magnificence. All of the 36 Yun family core elders nodded their heads, their faces revealed expressions of approval and hope. Yet facing such cheers and praise, Yun Xinyu remained completely calm. Absolutely not proud or arrogant, as he calmly returned to his seat. His talent, strength and personality was seriously perfect. It was no wonder that he was named the Yun family's hope for re-emergence. Yun Che narrowed his eyes. Only until Yun Xinyu reached his seat did he move his gaze away. Then, as if he had some thoughts, he looked towards Yun Qinghong, and coincidentally made eye contact with Yun Qinghong. From the look in each other's eyes, it was like they knew something. After the short visual contact, they looked away at the same time. Without exchanging any words, they were extremely clear on what one another meant. Or perhaps, this was some sort of chemistry between father and son. Alishu, when Yun Xiao says, "You let me win," that's just something polite someone says to the loser of a match. Good. Very good. Helian Peng nodded strongly and even clapped. "I had long heard that dear nephew Xinyu's talent is outstanding. Seeing it personally today, I must say that it is indeed true. You are even slightly stronger than my useless son, and it looks like as long as Xinyu dear nephew is here, the rumor that the Yun family has fallen completely is but a joke." Seeing Yun Xinyu's performance, Helian Peng revealed shocked, praised him greatly and rated him even more highly. He even addressed him using the intimate phrase, "dear nephew." Although Yun Weitian found it weird, it could not hide the delight in his heart. Brother Helian is too kind. My son Xinyu is still young and lacking. I hope Brother Helian can guide him in the future. Brother Yun is too humble. Helian Peng said laughingly. HMPH, although Yun Xinyu's talent isn't poor, the Yun family has not been able to enter Golden Crow Lightning Flame Valley for the past 100 years. The fact that they can produce such a young talent who possesses an innate science and profound handle is admirable. However, Helian Peng is praising him a little too much. Number 1 Under Heaven commented. "Ha ha," Unparalleled Under Heaven laughed slightly and said looking forward, "You don't have to think too much, we're only here as guests today." The various Yun family elders enjoyed Helian Peng's praise very much and felt that Yun Xinyu had helped the Yun family, who were at their lowest, earn some face. All of them naturally looked upon him even more highly, and the younger members of the Yun family looked at him with brightly lit eyes filled with admiration and envy. Yun Xiao returned to Yun Qinghong's side, his expression not showing much disappointment, because for him, losing to Yun Xinyu was not something unacceptable, but instead something very normal. Yun Qinghong looked at him and said, "Xiao, you must remember, no matter when, no matter who you're facing, never think that you're the weaker one, and even more so think that your defeat is a normal thing. That's the mentality of a coward and trash." Yun Qinghong's words were like thunder that struck beside Yun Xiao's ears. He straightened his body and replied, "Yes, father. This child will remember it well." As the time neared the official start of the Yun family competition, the 3 grand elders that everyone was waiting for had finally arrived. Above the sacred cloud arena, 3 purplish clouds floated over silently. All members of the Yun family, from the core elders to the junior generation, stood up and looked towards it respectfully. Then, the 3 clouds dispersed, which caused dense purple lightning to rain down. Among the purple lightning, the figures of 3 men floating in a straight line gradually appeared, and 3 strong auras that were stacked together slowly and silently filled the place. The auras did not pose any threat, yet they were as vast as the starry sky, as majestic as the ocean, and the people under the aura seemed as though they were basked under holy light. Some even knelt down, and acted like they were praying. These three people seemed as though they were saints for another world, overlooking the entire Yun family from midair. Unparalleled under heaven, Mu Yubai, Heli and Peng all stood up, because in terms of seniority, in front of the three from the Yun family, they were just juniors. The three of them looked middle-aged with black hair and black beards, but their auras were filled with the deep stability that came with age, allowing others to clearly feel their strong ancientness. Yun He, Yun Jiang, and Yun Shi, the only three remaining Grand Elders in the Yun family. 100 years ago, among the Grand Elders of the Yun family, their strengths were but the weakest few. However, after the strongest 10 members of the Yun family and Demon King Yun Sanghai passed on within the profound sky continent, they became the three strongest of the Yun family, and also became the strongest cornerstones of the Yun family. Yun waited and slightly floated and bent over, respectfully saying, "Greetings, Grand Elders." "Greetings, Grand Elders." The entire Yun family echoed in unison. "Xiao, help me up," Yun Qinghong said. With the support of Yun Xiao, Yun Qinghong gradually stood up. From midair, the Grand Elder standing in the middle said, "Qinghong, your body is unwell. You don't have to bother with these customs, sit down." However, Yun Qinghong shook his head, stood up straight, then bowed respectfully towards the three Grand Elders. "There is an order for elders and juniors, a difference between seniors and juniors. My Yun family has flourished for 10,000s of years, the heavens and earth are witnesses. As Yun family's patriarch, how can I not follow basic customs?" Yun He, Yun Jiang and Yun Shi could faintly tell the hidden message in Yun Qinghong's words and looked at each other while secretly sighing helplessly. Yun He raised his hand and said, "Qinghong, your nature is upright. It's good, yet bad. All right, everyone sit. Esteemed guests, our Yun family welcome you here. However, today's matters are Yun family's personal affairs that might affect our family's future. You're welcome to observe, but please do not interfere," Yun Shi said coolly. Obviously, the arrival of the Hellion and the Under Heaven family caused them to be cautious. "Of course," Hellion Peng said matter-of-factly. Yun He, Yun Jiang and Yun Shi descended and sat at the center of the sitting area. Among the three, Yun He was the eldest and also the strongest. After entering their seats, he nodded slightly and said, "Since everyone is already here, let's begin." Yun Weitian stood up and was about to approach the sacred cloud arena when a frivolous yet somewhat authoritative voice rang from midair. "The Yun family seems lively today. Looks like this king didn't waste a trip here by coming here in person." Yun Weitian stopped moving and looked towards the sky with a face of disbelief. A young man dressed fully in silver, wearing a silver crown and holding a fan gradually appeared. He looked scholarly and not any older than early 20s. However, his gaze was fierce and a sense of innate nobility came from his body. Even though he was facing the three Grand Elders of the Yun family, his fierce gaze was not one bit withheld. Behind him, another figure appeared. This person was bent, with a small stature. His hair was withered and yellow and the grayish-yellow clothes he wore was covered in dust. The most eye-catching thing was that his neck and arms were actually covered in sallow yellow scale-shaped patterns. No, they were indeed scales. Duke Huiyi. And a venerable stone dragon. Yun Weitian exclaimed in shock. All the elders of the Yun family, including the three Grand Elders, were shocked as well. I came here uninvited. You wouldn't mind, right?" the young man said laughingly. His accent and tone of speech was mild, yet each of his words contained an indescribable sense of pressure, causing one to not dare to oppose to what he had said. Another uninvited guest. Today's Yun family competition had a little too many uninvited guests. The Mu family's arrival was considered normal. Under Heaven and Hellion family coming was already shocking, but the arrival of the Duke of the Glorious Night something no one imagined. By now, even a fool could tell that there was something wrong. Of course not. Yun Weishan's voice started to tremble slightly and his shock and agitation could easily be seen. Duke Huiyi personally paying a visit to our Yun family is our Yun family's good fortune. How would our Yun family mind? I wonder why your highness has come down personally? If you have anything you need help with, our Yun family will definitely do our best. Nothing much actually. Duke Huiyi laughed. I just heard that today was the Yun family's family competition, and since I had some free time, I decided to come take a look. Looks like the competition has not started yet. That's good. I wonder if you could arrange seats for me and company, so we can enjoy the competition. Of course. Your Highness, please enter the seating area. Yun Weitian hurriedly guided him to the seat personally. Who is that person? Yun Che asked. Yun Weitian was still an elder of the Yun family, yet he treated this person with so much respect, and even called him, Your Highness. He was clearly not a normal person. Illusory Demon Royal Family's Duke Huiyi. Yun Qinghong explained briefly, Illusory Demon Royal Family does not have any Grand Princes, hence, the title of Duke is simply only second to that of the Demon Emperor's direct bloodline. If it was simply any Duke, Yun Weitian wouldn't act this way. However, that Duke Huiyi is not from any normal family. He is part of the Illusory Demon Seven Scions and is ranked third. His elder brother is the strongest of the Illusory Demon Seven Scions, and his father and grandfather are not normal as well. Currently, their factions' combined strength and support within Illusory Demon Royal Family might be able to suppress that of the Little Demon Empress. Even the Little Demon Empress would find it difficult to command them. Yun Che wrinkled his brows. Illusory Demon Seven Scions. I know that. Yun Xiao replied, the Illusory Demon Seven Scions are the seven strongest members of the Illusory Demon Royal Family's young generation. Once a person is listed into the Illusory Demon Seven Scions, he would obtain an exceptional position within the royal family and be exclusively trained. Duke Huiyi is ranked third, which means he's super strong. I also heard that currently, in the entire Illusory Demon realm, other than the Little Demon Empress, their bloodline is the purest remaining of the Illusory Demon bloodline. That's right. Yun Qinghong nodded. The person following him is called the Venerable Stone Dragon. Since 10 years ago he became Duke Huiyi's personal bodyguard. His true form is a 30-meter-long true dragon which possesses the power of earth, and is very strong. His eyes closed slowly as his gaze became downcast. First it's Hellion Peng, now it's actually Duke Huiyi. Looks like it's going to get lively here. Yun Che's eyebrows raised as he slowly exhaled. In his 2 months within Demon Imperial City, he obviously could not completely learn all the details about Demon Imperial City. He did not even get to know much people outside of the Yun family. All he knew was the predicament of the Yun family and the Illusory Demon Royal Family, and basic knowledge of the other 11 Guardian families. He did not actually know just how strong the Illusory Demon Royal Family was. However, the appearance of Duke Huiyi helped him understand that whatever he was going to face next would be far more complex and difficult, much more dangerous than what he had expected, but he would never change his decision because of that. The Little Demon Empress 100-year reign ceremony would be held in less than a month's time, and that would be the best stage to rebuild the Yun family's reputation. However, before that, he had to help Yun Qinghong keep his position as patriarch no matter what, and not let anyone else steal it. Alishu equals this king is used by kings, princes, and people of high nobility when referring to themselves. Even when they are not really kings. From the moment that Duke Huiyi had arrived to the time he took his seat, Yun Weitian had been the one to take the lead and welcome him. Yun Qinghong did absolutely nothing. In this period, the Duke Huiyi did not even take a glance in the direction where Yun Qinghong was seated. It was as if he completely disregarded the existence of Yun family's true patriarch. It was time. Yun Weitian bounded onto the sacred cloud arena and he faced the ancestral monument, declaring with his head held high, today, the Yun family competition is about to begin. And as the reason for convening this competition, I am sure all those who are present already know. In another month's time, it will be the Little Demon Empress 100-year reign ceremony. This is a grand affair which involves the entire Illusory Demon realm. As one of the 12 Guardian families who have guarded the Illusory Demon Royal Family for generations, our Yun family will also be participating in this grand ceremony. At the appointed time, a royal banquet will be held, and guests will come from all over. Even though our Yun family does not play the leading role, at that time, we will reveal our splendor to the Little Demon Empress, as well as all the outstanding heroes gathered there. So in order for us to not lose our family's might and prestige, only the most excellent individuals from the same generation will have the privilege of going to and participating in this grand ceremony. Because at that time, the ones who will be participating in the grand ceremony will be the strongest of each corresponding generation within our Yun family. Especially our young generation, the weak will not be allowed to disgrace themselves at the grand ceremony for all to see. That will only bring shame to our Yun family. Regardless of the place, the strength of the next generation would always be the most important factor for any great power. This was because the strength of the current generation had already been measured and settled. What heralded the winds of change was naturally the strength of the coming generation. This family competition will be the most direct and fairest method of selecting the cream of the crop of each generation. Who wins and who loses, who is strong and who is weak, that will all become apparent. All right. No more unnecessary words need to be said, let us address the main issue. Grand Elder Yun He abruptly said, cutting of Yun Weishan's words. The arrival of the Duke Hui Yi had caused Yun Weitian to speak with extreme prudence. So when Grand Elder Yun He abruptly spoke, he actually breathed a sigh of relief. He nodded in the direction of the three Grand Elders and did not continue from his previous words. He instead said, since this is the case, I will not continue talking about unnecessary things. However, he changed the topic and declared sternly, before the family competition begins, there is a grave matter that concerns the future of our entire family that has to be addressed right now. And the Elder Council has already begun discussing this matter many months ago. Oh? A grave matter concerning the future of your entire clan? I wonder what such a huge affair this could be. Helian Peng narrowed his eyes and said in a tone that was full of interest. Once Yun Weitian had said these words, many people present immediately held their breath, and many gazes, whether direct or covert, were shot in Yun Qinghong's direction. Practically everyone present knew what the grave matter Yun Weitian spoke about concerned. And this day, at long last, had finally come. Yun Weishan's gaze swept across all who were present, before finally fixing itself on the location where Yun Qinghong was presently seated. He said with a solemn expression, our Yun family has flourished for 10,000 years, and our might was known throughout the land. But due to the calamity that transpired 100 years ago, 11 cornerstones of our Yun family collapsed in one night, and that caused the total strength of our Yun family to decrease drastically in an instant. And in these past 100 years, we have carried guilt on our backs, while our young generation went under the most extreme of restrictions. 22 years ago, our patriarch's profound strength was crippled, and the guilt that we carried grew even heavier. And now everyone knows that our Yun family is on a quick decline. Our patriarch has been crippled and barely has any strength left. If this situation continues, our Yun family may not even have the qualifications to truly continue on as one of the 12 guardian families. So the main event that our Yun family needs to undertake is the choosing of a suitable new patriarch to lead the Yun family and rouse our Yun clan once more. Wait! Before Yun Weitian could finish, a rude and loud bellow cut his words off. Mu Yubai stood up and said with a steady expression, choosing a new patriarch? Yun Weitian, what do you mean? Are you trying to force Yun Qinghong to abdicate his position? No one felt surprised that Mu Yubai would step in. Yun Weishan's expression did not change and he replied calmly, young patriarch Mu's words are too heavy. How could we dare use the word force in regards to our patriarch? But our esteemed patriarch's entire body is disabled, and he scarcely has any mental, physical, and emotional strength left. And I am sure young patriarch Mu will not be able to deny that. This period also happens to be a crisis of existence for our Yun family. How can we burden our already powerless patriarch with the responsibility of raising our Yun family up once more? Thus, for the sake of the entire clan, and to preserve the health of our current patriarch, the time has come for the our Yun family to select a new patriarch. Mu Yubai was, after all, the future patriarch of the Mu family. Given the current declining power of the Yun family, they were unwilling to offend any of the 12 guardian families. So Yun Weitian still remained calm and prudent in the face of Mu Yubai's lack of respect. Mu Yubai instead responded with a cold laugh, your Yun family, for the past 10,000 years, have had over 70 patriarchs in succession, but every single patriarch was from the line of your original patriarch, Mu Yubai pointed at the Yun family ancestral monument and said, "Underneath your Yun family's ancestral monument sleeps the spirits of all the heroes in the line of your first patriarch, Yun Weitian. Why don't you tell me, in the entire Yun family, aside from Yun Qinghong, who else is a descendant of the bloodline of your patriarchs? You cannot seriously be telling me that all of you are prepared to force Yun Qinghong to abdicate his position and select someone who is not from the line of patriarchs to be your new patriarch. Heh? If I remember correctly, 10,000 years ago, your Yun clan was just a tiny barbarian tribe from the northern passes. And the one who created the purple cloud art, lead your entire clan from the north to dominate the entire realm, then established your position as head of the 12 guardian families, was the very ancestor of the line of the Yun family patriarchs. And from then on, every single patriarch, without exception, had been of the descendant of that first patriarch. If not for the leadership and guidance of this line of patriarchs, your entire clan would still be struggling to eke out a miserable existence somewhere out there. And now, even though Yun Qinghong is crippled, he is not dead, and is still extremely young. And yet you want to force him to abdicate his position as patriarch. Aren't you lot worried about how you will face your ancestors after you have passed on? Mu Yubai's words were ruthless and relentless. He had basically scolded every single member of the Yun family besides Yun Qinghong. Even though Yun Weitian was restraining himself with every single fiber of his being, his face had become faintly flushed. At this time, Helian Peng said in a loud voice, "Mu Yubai, it is not that I want to criticize you, but the words you have just spoken are ridiculous to the point where I can no longer take it. The Yun name belongs to everyone in the Yun family. Who was it that decreed that the Yun family patriarch must definitely be from Yun Qinghong's line? Even if the Yun family does have this tradition, Yun Qinghong has already been crippled to the point where he can't be crippled any further. To allow him to continue on as patriarch, even if you ignore the ridicule of the rest of the world, will sooner or later lead to the complete crippling of the Yun family as a whole. Moreover, besides in Yun Qinghong, there seems to be no one else in the Yun family who comes from the bloodline of the first patriarch. Oh, and as for Yun Qinghong's son, don't tell me that after Yun Qinghong has passed on, that the Yun family will never be allowed to have a patriarch again. Or do you actually hope to see the Yun family being led by someone who hails from the profound sky continent, a buster? Shut up! Mu Yubai roared, not letting Helian Peng finish what he was saying. He said with a calm expression, "This is a matter concerning the Yun family. The Yun family patriarch is our Mu family's son-in-law, so I have the right to speak, but you, Helian Peng, have no right to open your mouth. If you dare to continue to say words which are unpleasant to my ears, do you believe that I won't force you to leave this place on your knees?" Mu Yubai's temperament was upright and unyielding, and he was never willing to suppress his own emotions. If he said something, he would do it. Even though the other party was someone from the strongest Helian clan, his words were still unyielding and strong to the point where it left no room for leeway or graciousness. In regards to strength, Helian Peng was categorically not even in the same zip code as Mu Yubai, but he did not show any fear, and he gave a cold laugh instead. "Mu Yubai, do not think that I am afraid of you. If we truly fight, the one who will leave kneeling is not set in stone. You are courting death." The words that Helian Peng said undoubtedly caused Mu Yubai's temper to erupt completely. What's more, Mu Yubai was also looking for an opportunity to turn this place upside down. He yelled in anger, and profound light burst forth from his entire body as a thick and solid chain of ice soared into the sky. "Everyone, be quiet. This is the Yun family's grand event. It is not a place for you to quarrel, much less exchange blows." With a voice as tranquil as water, yet still carrying a pressure and might that was hard to resist, Duke Huiyi said his piece. By his side, the venerable stone dragon's eyes flashed and a beam of yellow shot out, colliding with Mu Yubai's ice chain. With a gentle ring, the ice chain disappeared in midair. After the Duke Huiyi had spoken those words, Mu Yubai was unable to take further action. He coldly stared at Helian Peng, returned to Yun Qinghong's side, and fixed his gaze on Yun Weitian. "Big brother, you are too impulsive," Mu Yuro said in worry as she mildly rebuked her brother. "Ha, Yubai may be impulsive, but he has never been one to act foolishly," Yun Qinghong said with a mysterious smile. "After all, it is brother-in-law who understands me best. Heh? Mu Yubai said with a low bark. Could it be that Uncle's sudden flare of temper was done on purpose? After hearing what they had said, Yun Xiao whispered this into Yun Che's ear. Yes. Yun Che nodded his head. The more impulsive and irascible Senior Mu acts, the more they will be put at ease. It looks like Senior Mu is trying to test some of his theories. Test his theories? Test what theories? Yun Xiao was completely mystified. Yun Che gave the faintly smiling Duke Huiyi a sidelong glance and he whispered back, in no time at all, his questions should have answers. Yun Xiao, no matter what happens after this, do not be alarmed. Oh? Oh, Yun Xiao had grown even more confused. Patriarch Yun. Duke Huiyi spoke once more, and this time, he faced Yun Qinghong directly. In terms of age, the Duke Huiyi was one generation younger than Yun Qinghong, so for him to address Yun Qinghong as Patriarch Yun was no big deal, but his tone clearly did not contain a single drop of respect. After all, Yun Qinghong was a complete cripple. In my humble opinion, because of your body's condition, you have long ago become unsuitable to continue leading the huge Yun clan. I very much endorse Elder Yun Weishan's words. To choose a new patriarch to lead the Yun family would be a good thing, not only for the Yun family but for Patriarch Yun himself as well. What is Patriarch Yun's opinion on this? Sigh? Grand Elder Yun he gave a dull sigh. For 10,000 years, the Yun family has been led by the bloodline of our patriarch, but given the current circumstance that the Yun family faces today, to change leaders has become an inevitable thing. Grand Elder Yun Shi said, Qinghong, it is about time for you to have a proper rest. Grand Elder Yun Jiang followed, this is definitely not what we wish for, but given your current strength and physical condition, it has already become too hard for you to continue bearing the burden of leading the clan. The Grand Elders had spoken, and even Duke Huiyi was in support of the Yun family changing patriarchs. It seemed that the case for a change of patriarch had already been nailed shut. Everyone present was waiting for Yun Qinghong's reaction, but they discovered that his expression was serene. He did not seem the least bit lost or disappointed, and he did not even sigh. Instead he gently and calmly said, since the Grand Elders and His Highness has already spoken, it would naturally be hard for Yun Qinghong, to have any objections. Since all the gathered elders have already begun discussing the matter of changing patriarchs months ago, it must be that my successor has long ago been decided. Since that is so, please do tell me who it is. If it is someone who can instill sufficient confidence in those who are present, then I, Yun Qinghong, will gladly abdicate my position. HMPH. Do you even need to ask? Mu Yubai said with a cold laugh, of course it is the person who has gone through great pains to set up this so-called family competition, the one who is truly pushing for your abdication, Great Elder Yun Weitian. The matter of changing patriarch is not a suggestion made by me personally, it is something the entire Elder Council has decided. Yun Weitian said with an unchanging expression, I, Yun Weitian, lack the virtue or the ability, and I have never once dared to covet the position of patriarch. Episode 90 is end here. Next episode coming tomorrow. Thanks for watching.